This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Hey guys, Big Paul here today. We're going to talk about what happens when you take 16,000 units of insulin. You heard that correct. I have a study here from a patient that tried to commit suicide with 16,000 units of insulin and lived. We're going to get into it in just 1 second. All right, so I got some people seriously upset the other day when I put my dispelling bro myth video up in that the dangers of insulin is overstated, and that bodybuilders fear insulin more than they fear things like diuretics and DMP, which is logically makes no fucking sense to me. I am not saying insulin is without danger or risk and that you should go take insulin. You shouldn't take insulin unless you're managed by a medical doctor and prescribed to do so. I'm a stupid bodybuilder and I do stupid things, so don't do what I do. But I thought it was fascinating. People did call me out for not quoting studies that showed that about the suicide thing with insulin, and there are a ton of them out there if you go look for it. And this is one that I found interesting and I wanted to share with you. There are a bunch of others I can show you, but where people have taken massive doses of insulin. I'm talking 3,000 units plus. And in this situation, this guy took 16,000 units of insulin and he lived. So I don't know. You taking 5 units of insulin with your meals probably not going to kill you. I'm not saying that's not within the realm of possibility, but this guy took 16,000 units and lived. And so we're going to dig into this. So here's what it says on the report. Case report. An 80-year-old previously healthy non-diabetic man was transferred to Veteran Hospital because of self-injected insulin administration. He had a history of depressive disorder, probably from a diagnosis of a possible end-stage prostate cancer a few months earlier. He was found unconscious by his driver and was taken to another hospital about 17 hours after his injection of insulin. So think about that. This was 17 hours after his injection that he finally got medical care. He was taken to the emergency room and his plasma glucose was found to be 26 milligrams per deciliter. Holy shit, that's low. That is definitely hypoglycemic. No focal or neurological signs were noted. After administration of 50 milliliters of 50% glucose, he regained full consciousness and his plasma glucose raised to 150 milligrams slash a deciliter. He experienced repeated episodes of hypoglycemia subsequently. Careful history taking revealed that he attempted suicide by injecting himself subcutaneously. Check this shit out. With 10,000 units, I'm not misspeaking here, 10,000 units of Humulin R and 6,000 units of Humulin N right here, which he bought at a local drugstore. He denied ingesting any other substances. 1 hour after injecting the insulin, he was still fully conscious. 1 hour later, he was still conscious after taking 16,000 units. So he thought that the suicide method would not work. He changed his mind about ending his life and consumed many chocolate bars and high carbohydrate drinks. The actual amounts of the carbohydrates ingested by the patient and at the home could not be quantified. I'm sure whatever he ate wasn't enough to counteract 16,000 units of insulin. During the night, he reported several episodes of diaphoresis and tremolosiness. I don't know, I'm probably mispronouncing. In the morning, his driver found him to be unresponsive in his house, so he was taken to the emergency room. 17 hours later, On admission, 3 fresh injection sites were noted on his abdomen. He was given intravenous glucose infusion of 10% dextrose in the normal saline intravenous bolus of 50% dextrose in water, and oral administered carbohydrates for 4 days. But he still had repeated episodes of hypoglycemia. So, guys, 16,000 units of insulin. That is unbelievable. I've read a bunch of these. I've seen a bunch of these ones, like, people taking 3,000 units of insulin, people injecting a whole Humalog pen, trying to commit suicide. I'll have to post another study up, and I'll do another video up on it at one point. I couldn't find it before I recorded this video, but I recall reading it before where the Centers for Disease Control had stats on actual insulin-induced death, and it was very, very low. And I'm not saying you can't die. You should be careful with it. You can pass out, go into a diabetic coma, and potentially die from using insulin. So you need to be careful with it. You need to be smart. But this just goes to show you, how crazy this is. And it goes on. Let's see. So this part I found interesting, and they go on to note, this case seems to confirm the conclusion from previous reports that there is no correlation between the dose of insulin administered and the final outcome. Delay in treatment of hypoglycemia appears to be the major prognosis to determine the outcome instead, although the duration of hypoglycemia is correlated with the type and amount of insulin administered. Slow absorption of insulin from the injected sites and delayed clearance of absorbed insulin are also 2 main factors. So essentially what it sounds like they're saying here is that the dose doesn't really matter as much. It's when you get into hypoglycemia, it's getting out of the hypoglycemia. Now, I'm not saying go out and pound a shit ton of insulin, but it's just really fascinating that you could take that much insulin and live. And there are tons of these reports if you just go and dig around. So that begs the question, are we overstating the dangers of insulin in bodybuilding? People treat it like the boogeyman. You better not touch insulin, you're going to die. And I know, I had several people reach out to me after my last video that work in ERs and say they see people come in all the time in hypoglycemic states, and I don't doubt that. I mean, you definitely can put yourself into a coma, and here's the thing: when you're thinking about bodybuilders, most bodybuilders are OCD and are measuring and weighing their food and measuring out their insulin accurately, and you get most diabetics. I guarantee you that most diabetics that are obese are not measuring and weighing their food and aren't paying attention to the dose of insulin they take. They're just jabbing themselves, and just eating whatever. So I don't know. I mean, if you're smart with it, you can reduce the risk. It's just like anything else. And once again, I'm not saying go out and take insulin, but I just, this right here is just evidence of how much room there is to play. And you do have to be careful. But this is just absolutely stunning that this guy took 16,000 units of insulin and lived. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comments section about this insulin thing. I would say go do a search on PubMed on studies on insulin overdose, and it's pretty interesting. It really is. I like to go down the rabbit hole and dig into the stuff, and I spent, I don't know, it was a couple months ago, spent several hours looking at these reports one night, just going through them and digging through them, and just one after the other of people trying to kill themselves with insulin and not being successful with it. And it seems like early intervention of hypoglycemia, the one lesson we can take from here is if you are getting hypoglycemic, is to make sure you're taking care of it. And somebody pointed out in my comment section, which is a very astute comment, if you are going to administer insulin, make sure that your girlfriend or a loved one around you knows that you're doing it and what to do if you do go hypoglycemic or if you do pass out, if something happens. They know what's going on. They know how to deal with it. It seems to be that more important than the dose is just getting help when you are hypoglycemic. And carrying glucose tabs with you, it's another good idea. If you are going to, learning how to check your blood sugar, things like that, just being responsible. If you are going to use insulin, being smart about it. But just be careful. I did like the point that you should let the loved ones around you know that you are doing this and that you should be prepared for it. I do know personally of a friend of mine who pounded a bunch of insulin pre-workout, went hypoglycemic after he left the gym, on his drive home, blacked out and hit a telephone pole. So, shit can happen, so that's just something to think about. And it can sneak up on you pretty quick. I've been hypoglycemic a few times, and it can come pretty quick. And some people don't get symptoms from it, so just something to keep in mind. All right, guys, thank you for watching my video. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Take care. For coaching or consultations, head over to www.anabolicbodybuilding.com to book your spot today. I can help you with optimizing hormones, fat loss, muscle gain, physique, athletic performance, nutrition, and health. For more information, shoot me an email at bigp3rd@gmail.com.